Hello, welcome to Conversations for the Moving Self. I am your host, Megan, a lifelong movement artist and facilitator. Each week, I invite you inside of the honest conversations that I have been having with some incredibly inspiring movement and well-being practitioners, as we unpack the beautiful roller coaster it is to pursue a lifestyle built around movement and well-being. Join us as we share and reflect on the moments where movement lights your soul on fire, to the situations where you begin to question everything. Welcome to Conversations for the Moving Self for episode 18. Today we have Ricardo Souza, who is currently based in London but is originally from Portugal. He is a producer, dancer, and director, and also works in music and visual arts. He has performed in various contexts, including recently was a Munchkin in Wicked 1 and 2, and a dancer for Becky Hill's 2024 Brit Awards, as well as Carousel Productions, dancer for MSC Bellissima. This year, he also produced his own short dance film called Shattering Conceptions, and I'm super excited to have Ricardo here. We connected through another podcast guest named Emma Poye, and we also have overlapped in the past at the place. And so it's super nice to have Ricardo here and just get to know Ricardo a bit better. And I think what I feel really excited about for today as well is from our first interaction, Ricardo's energy just feels super open and warm and inviting. And I can sense a strong prioritization of taking care of oneself in order to show up fully in the space and wanting the same for other dancers and movers. So thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. And that was a beautiful explanation.
We'll just start today with how you're showing up for your movement and well-being practice today. It's quite early in your morning, so where you're at so far.
I think I'm trying to navigate a well balance between self-love, self-priority, and then also being able to show up for other people in the dance sector. I'm one
Mm,
person that people pleases a lot. I prioritize a lot of other people before myself. And I think now that I'm growing up more and more learning about self-love and taking more therapy seriously, I think I'm struggling with finding a balance that suits myself and prioritizing me as a dancer and me in a creative aspect, as well as prioritizing others. But that's what I'm
mm.
showing up today, trying to find that balance there.
It's a tricky balance, and I think I relate to the ongoing discovery a lot. And I don't know, I feel like it's one of those things that we're constantly, there's probably never going to be a perfect balance, but how do we like make it also, yeah, continue to check it in the ways that like we need what we need from ourselves at different periods of life? And it's a good question to enter the thank you for sharing. And also just like it makes me think as an artist. I was talking to someone about this recently of like as an artist, as a facilitator, as a performer, like I think it attracts a lot of like empathetic people and people who have the desire to be quite open and help hold space for other people's stories and or share stories and things like that. And so how do we do the thing and equally then like go, okay, I have to recharge after it, or how do I set myself up for that? And
Yeah. I
just
think
want
it's
to
like if you're working on a very emotional piece, like for Shattering Conceptions, I kind of had to take myself out of it to not
mm,
be so engulfed by it. And I feel like
yeah.
that's something I'm constantly trying to do when I'm like meeting someone new and we're like both opening up of like this kind. Because I'm such an empathetic person, I feel everything that they're telling me. And it's such a struggle because I'll carry that with me. And then I'll go into a dance studio and you're like, I feel so heavy. I feel so like dark. I feel so gloomy. And I'm like, that's the reason why. And as much as you can be there for someone, I think it's really tough as a performer, as an artist, as a creative, when you're such an empathetic person, you naturally
Mm.
take that into your body of work because it's a source of inspiration.
Yeah.
You just you struggle to find a good, okay, that's my outside world, and then this is my personal creative world. And it's like the gap is here.
Mm.
And you're like, what?
Mm. At the minute, what things are you finding useful for helping create that space or create that gap for you?
Every morning I have this journal thing that I do on my Instagram story, and it's just random questions. May have used AI, but it went honest and deep and it gave me the answer questions. Um, I haven't posted like the last couple of weeks, but that's fine. And every day I go onto my laptop and there's like this journal app and it tracks like day streaks, words, and I'm like, okay, I'm a visualizer in that sort of way. I'm like, how many words have I written, how many days? But every day I write that journal and I just answer a question honestly. And then I do a separate journal where I talk about the whole of my day from the day just gone. And I reflect and I go, okay, I could have done that different, could have done that different. And then I write goals for the day. So like I did 2026 resolutions and I did monthly resolutions, which is a bit far-fetched into the future, but might as well. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, every day I do goals for the day. So like yesterday I started my new degree, business management and marketing, and my goal was to at least make one friend, at least get to know one of my lectures and to know what the hell I was doing. And it kind of just helps break down the pressure of living a day to day, which are
Yeah.
so heavy now. Like the pressure of
Mhm.
just living.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Living.
I or like consume, I guess feels like a bit of a cliche like topic to bring up, but like we are being thrown so much information all the time nowadays. Like it reminds me of the a conversation I was having with multiple friends and family members in the fall of just like, what does this season look like as someone whose career also is very involved with the social media platform and a lot of work comes from that space, and then equally like needing to be informed and involved, and then equally needing to like not start every day with so much information coming at you. And practices like this, I find can be super helpful of just like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of like, what is the internal landscape before that happens? I don't always do it before, but like, how, yeah. And I liked also what you were talking about of the goals or the intentions for each month and the goals for the day, like to kind of have this overarching intention or idea of where you want your year to go, but then also to be able to break it down. And like you said, like it's in the future, and with that things can change, but how to chunk things. Where I was talking to a friend recently about like just that duration sometimes can be an overwhelming concept, and like if you know something's happening in 9 months, like maybe don't think like how can we go, okay, it's in 9 months, but can I look at it in 1 month at a time and go step by step? Because I'm definitely someone who overthinks and sees far out into the future and like the 12,000 possibilities of what can happen. And it's like, okay, how do we tactically,
Mm.
practically approach this scenario
I'm
with
the
the
same
space?
to be fair. In regards to
Mhm.
overthinking in the future, I'm like, hey, I'll be doing that at this time. How do I like I try speed up time, but I know that's impossible. And I'm like, how can I just get there now? Can I be there now?
Yeah.
I can't, I gotta live now.
Yeah. Something I've been thinking about in relation to that is like, I am someone who enjoys to, I think, be live in the future a little bit and have a very like forward thinking brain, but also how to be like, whoa, like what's happening now is also really important, and where you're at now is okay. And you're allowed to exist in that space where like, yeah, how to stay present and in a way that accepts the ups and the downs and the like curveballs and whatever, but like that all of it is relevant to the process and to the journey.
It helps you grow.
Yeah. That okay, that leads me nicely into I'm curious about how your journey has led you to here, with movement and dance, where that yeah, where movement came into your life, and that can include non-dance thing, like it's open to any movement practice, and how you've arrived here.
So I came to England when I was about 5, 6 years old with like constant traveling through Europe. So I guess in a way my body was already telling me I'm tired of moving in that sort of way. Let me move in a different way. But I did a boys' dance for the place, which was so just how it started was the place. And then I started doing dance classes at my old secondary school. From there, I started going from 2 hours a week of dance to 45 in just one crazy amount of time. And I was like, yeah, let's go. I want to be a dancer. And I just loved it. I loved the practice of it. I loved the discipline it taught me and the respect, not only in the room, but as a person. And I'm not too sure if they reached out to all the dancers, but the place obviously do their survey things where they do like, tell us about how your experience was. And I'm like, I will tell you about it. And one of the things I remember distinctively putting down was the team at the place and the way that they teach the practice has taught me to become the person that I am today, which I still carry with me every day. Like the way Vicky literally led the course as a mum, which was literally a second mum, was so beautiful to me. And it really touched me because I don't think I'd be one talking to you right now. And two, I don't think I'd be in the dance sector if it wasn't for the place and for Vicky especially because um growing up as LGBT as well, it was tough because it wasn't as accepting, even though it was what, 10 years ago now? 10, 11 years ago, it wasn't as open as it is now. And um I've grown as a person and I've learned to accept that I am what I am and I'm happy with what I am, clearly, because where's my phone? I have a whole I love my men.
I love it.
I love my
I
men.
love it. I love it.
But yeah, I think dance has got me to where I am today, not only mentally, but physically and as a person. And it's created who I am. I don't think I'd be who I am today if it wasn't for dance. That I can
Mm.
say.
Thank you for sharing. There's something about dancers, I think, finding this like love for the physical practice, but also the way that it teaches us about ourselves so much. And I was having this conversation with a coworker recently about some of the students that I'm teaching can't do the end of the year show, and we were basically inviting them to encouraging them like and reminding them at a early adolescent stage of their life that also being a part of the process and being in class every week, like still, you should still go to the other commitment that you have. It's important and you have to like make choices sometimes, but equally, you still get so much out of
Being in
being
the
in the
room.
space, both as a mover and just as a human. And so yeah, and we were just like, raving as dancers, like, oh my gosh, but we learned so much about ourselves in this way. And I remember being that age and it feeling like it was like the end of the world, but ultimately, like in that process, even of having to make choices, like what that teaches you, and just how all the nuances of being a part of something that does require like a lot of diligence and determination and vulnerability, like what that brings to you and to your body and to your emotional understanding of yourselves and each other and the world and da, da, da. So yeah, thank you
I
for sharing. I agree about the place.
I love, sorry, just to touch on what you said, I love the whole thing about learning whilst you're sat out or going through the process. Because I
Yeah.
remember at the place because I got into dance so quickly, I ended up like disforming my hips and my ankles. So it was like a constant click, and I've got like chunking hips, whatever they are. And I remember that I was out for almost 2 years, and I remember it being the end of my world, and it was like so hard. But I think dance teaches you like resilience, as you said, and vulnerability, and being open to staying in the process, even though you're not in the final product. And I think you learn so much more from observing from an outside perspective because you are constantly thinking about yourself and then others and then the process. And then you have so much information that it all combines into one. But sorry, I just had to touch on that because I loved it because I remember I hated it when I was younger, but now I'm like, I just want to be in the room and watch.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I it made me think as you were speaking about I assisted for CYD at the place and then assisted for the BA course after. And both of those roles I feel so, so grateful for because I felt like obviously you learn a lot by doing as well. But being in this role where I was doing, but equally witnessing both the teachers and the students, like I think assisting roles are just a space that I love to be in and thrive in as a learner myself. And also, yeah, in a separate like tangent, I think I just enjoy to kind of be a little bit of liaison and being able to keep an eye on like what is the whole configuration of the space, but specifically this role of observation a bit more, uh, being able to kind of step out of it a little bit to be able to see and especially in something like a dance space where there's so much information coming into the body to allow it to process as well, where even I've started taking like aerial hoop classes
Ooh.
and I I'm loving it so much. I've always like wanted to get into it a little bit more, but I kept going to like one class and then missing it for like 3 months. And so I've made the commitment to go every week now. And this morning, like the teacher was apologizing because there wasn't enough hoops that two of us were sharing, but both of us are like newer. The rest of the group has kind of been doing it for a while. And I was like, ah, no, it's quite nice actually to be able to have like, obviously we're all adults in this space and know how to pace ourselves and whatever, but like this implemented time to be able to witness and observe how other people are doing it to then be able to apply the thing and the next time I go, which it sounds very simple as it's happening, but like I think, yeah, when something gets taken away, obviously there's the separate emotional side of that or the frustration, all the feelings that come up in not being able to maybe participate in a performance project or something, but what can also come from the other roles involved in that process. I'm super, super supportive of.
Oh, I love that.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journaling practice that you're doing on social media. You started to speak on it a little bit, but I wondered what inspired you to have this 60-day journaling practice and to be sharing it, um, how it's going, like what you're noticing through the process so far.
Um, I started it because I'm very bad at sticking into doing something. Like the gym, I'll go for a week straight and then I'll just see the money come out of my bank account. I'm like, I'm not going. But I suffer with ADHD, so it's really bad to like stereotypically. I'm horrible at sticking to something and making sure I'm doing it. So the 60-day thing was a challenge for me to actually be able to do it every day. I'm doing the journaling, just not the posting, but the posting will come soon. um, I think I wanted to do it because 2025 ended on a bit of a sour note for me, and I went into 2026 on an even worse note. So I was like already feeling quite low, and it just wasn't a good headspace that I wanted to start 2026 on. So I started the journaling to be able to process one, everything that had happened, and two, to allow myself to think about things bleh, that have happened in the past. Because I'm one person that doesn't process things. I quickly escape it, put it in the back of my mind. I'm like, yep, I'm fine. I'm ready to go. Which is a lie, because I then suffer the consequences severely later when I have a breakdown or I'm out of meds and I'm completely on the floor claustrophobic. Um, but one thing I've noticed is that a lot of the things that I had pushed away, I still think about. not constantly, but it's in the back of the mind. And if something triggers that thought, it will send me into like a 5 minute spiral, and then I'll distract myself again because just that's my coping mechanism, constantly distracting. And I have therapy once a week. So on top of doing the journaling for myself, I have someone guiding me and helping me, which is really nice and something I recommend, even if you don't think you need it. I highly recommend therapy. Lord, their practice is amazing. But
For real.
one thing I've noticed is just how much more calm I am within myself and like not less angry, but less emotional and less triggered by an emotional reaction to something. So
Mm,
if I had like a music that really reminded me of someone or something, I'd normally be in a slop, in a mood the whole day because it's just I'm someone that lets my whole emotion affect the rest of my day or week. But the more I'm journaling, the more I'm writing, the more I'm accepting what has happened and committing to that, the more I'm regulating my emotions, which is really nice because it's not something I've noticed before in the past. And I don't think it's something that you actively notice unless you're actively looking or actively healing yourself. But yeah, I think it's
mm,
just the main word for this 60 days healing because there's a lot of healing I feel like I need to do.
mm. Things that came up as you were speaking for me is I am also all in support of therapy. I think it's something that, like, yeah, when I was younger, I had a lot of resistance to, and there was like cliches around it, maybe in society. I don't know, like how much that impacted it. I think it definitely did to an extent, but I also think it was like this thought process of like, no, I'm fine. Everything's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
And it doesn't even matter if you are or you're not. Like it can be just nice to have some a space to just talk and process. And the more I do it, the more I notice I'm such a verbal processor
Mm,
and need to have that thing to like bounce
yeah.
my ideas off of and just someone to be able to like question things or interrupt my thought process. So yeah, super supportive of that. And also this thing of just being able to take the time to actually allow things to process. When you were speaking, it made me think of reacting versus like being able to like reacting out of impulse versus being able to like actually make an informed
Yeah.
opinion or decision or feeling or whatever. And I noticed that definitely with myself as well. Like when I'm able to set up these chunks of time or these practices to investigate what's going on and how it's affecting me, I feel more able to make choices and show up in the way that I actually want instead of just feeling like I'm following the the being tugged by the boat kind of thing.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing. I really love the commitment to also doing it for 60 days. A lot of times I feel like things are 30 days, and so it's nice to do it for 60 days.
Think to make a habit, it needs to be longer than a month, to be
Yeah,
fair.
yeah,
I think a month
yeah,
is, yeah, I've done it. Okay, I'm done now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. And also this element of sharing, like when you were like, oh, but I haven't posted, like I relate so much to that sort of thing because it's like a whole nother job. But then equally, like I was just gonna say kudos to you for sharing some of it because it's also quite a vulnerable process and just nice to continue to unravel this idea that all of this has to be so uh internal in the way that it's yes, something that people talk about. I feel right now we all talk a bit more about all of these things, but it's still like we talk about it, but not like in the actual work, more just like, oh, we should all journal, we should all do yoga, we should all sleep more, but like how it actually happens and what that unraveling looks like, which I think for me is where the real work comes of being able to shift it from something that is a
A
like
checklist.
check I yeah check I did that rather than like did I do it and it actually I'm seeing the actual benefits of it and
I think that's my main reason for posting it on social media because one, yes, being vulnerable. Like I made a commitment last year to being as vulnerable as I could on social media because for me it felt very fake. Like my whole social media presence as a whole felt very fake because no one knew what I'd be struggling with, or it'd be like 4 or 5 months where I wouldn't post anything, I wouldn't be active, and people were like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." When
Yeah.
actually I'm not. Like I'd be in a depression hole. But I think being open about it on social media and showing the whole process and basically talking to Instagram at this point like it's my therapist, I think it allows other people to be vulnerable with you. Because I've had a bunch of people comment and like reply, and we've had like a whole chat about it. And I'm like, if this is what happens when I can be vulnerable, I don't see why more people can't be vulnerable. It's hard, don't get me wrong, but I think it opens doors and it pushes people to accept that social media can be a platform where you share your whole story and share how like like you're struggling. And I think there's so much like reels now where it's like, "Ah, if you don't feel this in like 2026 in the gym, do this instead." And it's like, look at the caption, it's like a whole caption. I'm like, it doesn't help me, but thanks. And then I see other reels like from therapists or like creatives, and then they're talking with you, not at you.
Yeah.
Caption says, "Have a good day. This is the sort of
Mhm.
content we need to be having more of, not check my
Mm.
caption if you want a whole list of things you should be doing instead."
Yeah.
Sorry, that was
Social
a
media is like a whole I was reminded of it yesterday. I was scrolling at one point and some video came up with the same kind of concepts, and I just remembered reading it and being like, all of these things are definitely opposite to the last one that I saw.
yeah.
So at this point, I'm just gonna put it all away.
No,
Like, yeah, it's also nice to hear different versions of how people go about approaching this thing of actually integrating practices that feel like they're working for us, and I think that's for a couple different reasons. One being that everybody works differently, but also that everybody works differently also in different chapters of their life. And so to have different approaches is super nice.
mm.
That kind of shifts me into a question I'm interested in at the minute around the balance between effort and care. And I was curious for you on really any project that something that's maybe because, okay, I guess where I'm entering this space is some spaces and jobs feel like that's kind of already prioritized from the directorial side of things. And some spaces it's maybe still prioritized, but we don't have the time for them to like fully give that space or have those conversations or yeah, that every project is going to look different and depending on the size, the time scale, the
Yeah.
budget, the people, all the things like that's going to affect that. And so how you are finding nowadays you can allow yourself to show up fully for the work while also taking care of the body and of your like internal being.
Um, one thing I've learned is definitely to stick to one project at a time. Whether that be planning, whether that be meetings, whether that be whatever sort of planning sector you're in for that one project, I've learned that I need to stick to one project and give my full care and effort to that project to be able to have the same level of effort and care for my own body. And
Mm.
when I did Shattering Conceptions, I worked on that project for almost 3 years, and I only filmed it last year, which was crazy. But I think if I had worked on other different projects alongside Shattering Conceptions and worked on trying to do this, and that, and get booked and so many things at the same time, I don't think I think I would have crashed out and burnt out completely, and I would have delayed the whole project as a whole. And I think also it wouldn't be as authentic as the
Mm.
project is. And I think for me, one important thing is being as authentic and as honest as I can be with all of my work, regardless if that's someone's choreographing on me and I'm doing their project, for example, a cruise ship. Like that's a completely different opposition to how authentic you need to be. But I'm going to show up authentically and I'm going to show up as myself as that dancer for that job. And I think
Mm.
if you're, some people can manage it well and some people can work on two, three projects. Paris, for example, Paris Global, I think it is Global. She can work on so many projects and they're fire, they're killing. But that's just her. She's a powerhouse. She works, works, works. Also, she's got assistants. I do not have that. I do not have
Yeah.
that privilege. But some people it works and some people it doesn't. But I think what's important to me is that I know that one project is my limit. And I know that I'm able to balance myself as a person and my care and my priority, as well as showing love and care and effort for the project that I am doing.
Mm. And it made me wonder, I think you are referring mostly to when you're creating. Is that what you?
Yes.
Okay.
Creating, or I think it kind of goes into all aspects of dance
Okay.
for me.
Yeah,
Creating,
yeah.
dancing.
Yeah. Mm. Mm. How do you attempt to create that uh schedule space within a structure of freelancing where things are coming out of the blue and disappearing out of the blue, and obviously sometimes it's out of our control, but what is your approach at the minute to trying to implement that for yourself?
Uh, God, I kind of don't have one. It's weird.
Okay.
It's weird because I obviously do my journaling. My dearest best friend Gemma, she's an circus artist and she lives in Australia. So we're both kind of in the same field and we kind of feel the same. Like we're kind of soul bonded, so we talk a lot. But I'm very open and honest with my agent. My agent helps me a lot with things that I schedule aspects wise and conflicts and um she's she's very motherly to me and she sees me, she takes care of me both in the professional way as she would, but yeah, she reassures me and she helps me out a lot when it comes to conflict of schedules or jobs going in and out. And I think when I'm like traveling to like rehearsals or like getting the goddamn transport for London trains, I do a lot of reading. Like I read books. I'll download like a podcast of some random sort. So currently I'm listening to a podcast that's, let's get the Spotify out. That's about it's called Buy Yourself the Damn Flowers, the Self-Love Guidebook.
Oh,
Me, I'm one person that always buys flowers for people, not for myself. So, which is a really nice thing that I brought into 2026, which is just listening to that and also buying things for myself because I deserve it.
I
Get
have a friend who, I'm fully interrupting you right now, but I have a friend who in university like said to me one day, like, yeah, I bought myself flowers today, and now I'm gonna buy myself flowers more often. And I was like, huh, I also have never like I never do that. And so and then especially in London, I've found it like it's a small thing, but it's a huge thing. Like when everything is in the way that it is right now in January in London, like it's gloomy and dark and gray and cold, and it's super nice to just have a little bit of color in and life in your space, and doesn't have to be flowers, but like what does I love this idea of how can you just give yourself something small.
Mhm. Even if that's like a Snickers bar.
I
Like
think
I feel
that's
like a lot. I think I see purchases now as a self-love thing. Before I used to say like, I need food, I need to buy food. Oh, I need milk, I need to go buy this. So, but now I'm like, I need that because it's fueling me. Like I have that mentality, try and switch because you have to. I feel like in January, especially as you mentioned, it's hard to just get up and even go to Tesco's just to get like breakfast because you're like, can't be asked. It's so dark, it's so gloomy. I just want to stay in bed. But even just that
Mhm.
one step out and that fresh of air and going to the grocery store, I think for me is such a simple task, but something that gets my day going. Like if we didn't have this podcast in the morning so early, I would have been in bed right now.
Feel the same way about those aerial classes. They're at 8 a.m. in the morning, and I'm always like, oh,
Gotta go home.
no, because like it's at 8 a.m., which isn't like the worst hour it could be. It could be 6 a.m., but to be out of my house and somewhere else by that time and
It's tough.
alive, like it's alive. But then at the same time, I get back and I'm like, oh, but now I'm awake, and
I feel
this is
great.
nice.
Like yesterday I want to go to
Um,
the library because now I'm awake and I'm up and going. But
yeah,
if it wasn't that, I would
exactly.
have stayed in bed.
Hmm. I also really liked what you were sharing around your relationship with your agent.
Mm.
Feel that this is it sounds like a really healthy relationship, and which is really exciting. And to be able to have someone that you feel like you can trust and also is in support of, because ultimately, yes, it's about the work, but in order to be able to show up for the work and in order to be able to show up for the work in a long-term way, we also have to find a way that it feels
Yeah.
sustainable and manageable and aligned with the human. And I was talking with a friend in the fall about this who son works in the dance world as well. Like they're both in the dance world. And we were talking about a project that she was sharing with me he wanted to turn down, but was having trouble like how much how to speak about that with the agent and how to uh not make the agent feel like the work on their side wasn't appreciated, but like it doesn't feel aligned and all this stuff. And we were, I mean, it's not really it wasn't my situation at all, but I just remember in the moment being like, yeah, it's this thing of like how to yeah, everybody is a human in the moment, and we will all have different feelings about different situations, and we can try to people please and imagine what the other person is, how they're going to respond, but also ultimately like the role in that specific situation, the agent, yeah, is a human too, but their ultimate responsibility is setting you up for work that makes you feel like,
Yeah.
how do we
I think it's finding the right person that you work
exactly.
really well with. Because I
Mm,
was with a previous agent and it just felt like they were pumping me with to do work and not making sure I was aligned with that work. Whilst with my agent, Jenny, shout out to her, she takes care of like my mental health. She'll check in. She'll be like, do you want to do this job? Like yesterday, I had an audition and it was like in the afternoon. And I texted her, I was like, is it okay if I don't go? Like, am I okay not to go? She's like, yeah, are you sure? Like, do you want a backup plan? Like, are you sure you don't want to go? I was like, I just know that if I do get the contract, I'll be saying no and it'll be a waste of their time, my time, and your time. And she's like, okay, it's fine, we'll cancel it. I think she just values both of us as work. And I think that's the issue that we're currently having is that it's either the agents not being valued for their work or it's the dancer not being valued for their work. And it's a very
yeah,
much of a back and forth silent
balance.
argument where you're like, hey, I don't want to do that, but you can do that. But like, it's just
Yeah.
once you find that perfect person, it just works.
When you were speaking about just finding the right match, it made me think about the same concept with a therapist. Like ultimately, everyone's going to work in a different way, and it's okay. Like an agent could not work for you, and it doesn't mean they're a bad agent. It just means like it doesn't work for you, and at that point, then it's not off. It's not doing the thing it's meant to be doing. So
Yeah.
just it's a really important thing I think to prioritize in order to also feel like then you're getting what you want out of the work. Because I also feel like dance jobs, and in my opinion, I don't know how people do it if they're completely unhappy. It's a hard career to be in
I
if
had a
you're not.
similar experience. So
Yeah.
I did a cruise 2 years ago in
Okay.
Asia.
Okay.
So I ended up injuring my back quite badly. So I was like on medical like stop for like 2, 3 months. I was just miserable. And it was kind of one of those things where I was like, I started thinking, I was like, how do people do this if they're not happy in the job? Like people sign a contract for like a year, 2 years, and then not happy, and they're like, that's my contract. I've got to keep going. I'm like, I was fortunate enough to be granted medical leave and flown back to London because of my injury. I do not know how you can just stick around in a contract where you're not happy with. And I think
Mm,
even harder when your agent knows and they're like, I can't do anything for you. And I'm like, it
yeah.
just makes like for me, I'm thinking about your mental health affecting your physical body and then injuries and then just the way you're acting out. And it's just it's level upon level, like
Um,
it's hard thinking that some people are out there right now going, I can't leave this contract because I'm legally bound for the next 6 months.
yeah. And it is like obviously there's certain circumstances where it's like, okay, we have to tough it out for this, but then can we reevaluate and move into this next chapter prioritizing that because I agree, I'm in the headspace of it. It's the time I saw yeah, every time I'm in a low, I see it affect my body and my
Mm,
physical, it's all intertwined, the emotional, the physical, the mental health, and which then affects as a dancer and any career really, but like especially something where it's using all of those all the time, it affects the work. And so it just becomes this cycle. And yeah, I also, when you're speaking about your best friends, I relate a lot to this concept of being like, uh, I just feel really lucky to have some really great friends that even if we're like distance wise very far apart, I feel super connected to them and just like I have somebody who kind of gets who has the same brain space or like entry point into a lot of things work wise, and to be able to have that person to bounce things off of is a really great tool. And
yeah.
so shout out to all the
Shout out.
good friends. Um, yeah, leads me into we were just speaking a lot about effort and care within work and within movement practices. When you feel like one starts to slip, I'm curious about this way of like when you feel like something's starting to slip, the way of solving, redirecting. I was talking to a friend about this recently of like this concept of when you can feel something starting to go like off the tracks and we're like, okay, I need to do something, but like how do you, yeah, edit, adjust, reapproach, redirect?
Um, oh God, that's a good question. Um, I think for me, I naturally step back into it. I'm like, I don't put a lot of pressure into myself into making sure I quickly go back into it or making sure that I'm like on it and being like, okay, snap out of it. If I'm overthinking, then yes, I will snap out of it and go, why are you overthinking that? It's okay. But I kind of let my body and my mind do what it needs to do. Like if it needs to go down on effort slightly because it's overcompensating for something, I will let it do that temporarily until I actually need to get my butt into gear. But I'm one person for letting my body do what it needs to do, even if I don't quite understand it fully, because the body is so smart and it's got so many elements to it that even scientists are still like putting out reports on, which I love reading. Um, but yeah, I kind of let my body do its natural course. But when it comes to mental health, I think it's a completely different conversation. You can control it in a way, but in another way, you're kind of like, okay, I can't do anything until it just processes. And I think with the journals, especially, it's helped me a lot in regards to if I see something slipping, I'm like, why is it slipping? What can I do to assist it, but not even push it too much? Because I think if you push it too much, you're going to just dig a bigger hole and you're
Yeah.
going to go the opposite direction. So I think I kind of just let it happen. I let it process and I assist it. I help it. I give it little kisses, but I just let it be.
Makes me think about patience.
Yeah.
And yeah, gentle invitations to yourself to step back into whatever the thing that you feel is slipping is. Uh, and reminds me of a sentence that a friend said to me once of I remember being like, oh, I was whining about not whining, but I was sharing like something. I don't even remember the exact circumstances, but basically I was going through a lot of stuff outside of my like day-to-day life and checking the boxes and getting the work done, but equally was in a season where there was a lot of jobs and work requiring me to produce a lot. And I was like, I'm drowning. And I'm drowning and I need to cook dinner. And I said something like this, and she was like, it's okay. Like, whatever dinner looks like tonight, if you can do something,
Mm.
that's but I think yeah, because I made some comment of like I need to cook dinner, but I don't want to cook what I have, or it's not going to fuel my body, or I don't know, I was being the most dramatic version of myself in that moment, and she just kind of interrupted the thought process and was like, "Well, it's all going to be okay. First of all, you're spiraling. Second of all, like in a situation like this, you don't have to make a dinner that you would make on your best day
Yeah.
of your life. Like it's a change the expectation a little bit to allow yourself to make a small step back into that space instead of then just doing nothing and just not eating dinner or, like how do we shift? It reminds me about the way that I feel like in contact improv spaces that like you have to have a certain amount of like openness in the body to be able to receive the information and you can see somebody sometimes before you're physically like dancing with them, but then until you're actually making contact, that isn't always the energy that is actually going, or the amount of weight that you're going to receive or whatever. And so how we have to have this like preparedness, but equally openness and ability to shift and to listen.
Yeah.
And I liked a lot about what you said of just sometimes you have to let something do its cycle, and it's not necessarily just being like, well, okay, whatever. But like, how can it be in a way that you accept the thing and you accept it for what it needs? And then this word gentle is very nice of how can we gently redirect or guide ourselves back to whatever.
I think it's kind of also, as you were saying, like not just going, okay, yeah, it's happening, but it's kind of if I'm like feeling sad, I will listen to one or two sad songs, or I'll let myself feel that emotion because it's perfectly normal to feel an emotion. Like it's not a negative thing to feel anxiety or to overthink slightly because sometimes overthinking does win. I give my mind the thing it needs for 5 minutes, and then I'm like, right, let's watch Dance Moms, let's put on Modern Family, let's do something of the sort, and get my mind out of the pit that it's currently in because not that I don't need to be in that pit, but right now I don't want to be in that pit because I don't need to be, and I'll process that whilst I'm also watching Dance Moms.
Exactly. Makes me think about my younger self because I was when I first found Dance Moms, I was younger, which brings me on to the question that I had shared with you before of if you met your younger self, what is something you would like to share or tell them?
I think the first thing I would tell them is the very first show you watched, Wicked, will be the first big job you book.
That's really cute.
I think that'll be the first thing. And I haven't even processed any of the jobs that I have done. I'm kind of just I don't process anything. So even just saying that kind of brought a tear to my eye because it's crazy because what 10 years 2016 was the year I saw Wicked in West End, and 10 years later both films came out, which is crazy. So next step is Wicked and West End. But
Yeah.
I think that'll be the first thing I say. because it's just a surreal moment for me. And me and my agent currently have this running joke where it's like, get a munchkin, or like I refer to myself as a munchkin now, which is really funny. And so do a lot of people in my life. I think the second thing I'd say is trust your gut instinct and don't give the back of your hand to people that don't appreciate you and don't fulfill your life. And don't be
Mm,
scared to let go of people that aren't good in your life, because you will find the good people and you'll find your community and your people. And I think
mm,
one last thing. Um, I think I'd say don't be so it was on my New Year's resolution is don't be scared to say no to an opportunity just because of the fact that you're too busy. Know that the opportunity will come back to you in a different way, and know that you're only young. You've done a lot for the age that you are, and know that that's not going anywhere.
they're great, all three of them. What also the first one that you shared, first of all, it was so cute and so sweet and so surreal, I imagine, and equally reminded me just of like this thing of the universe has there's things like, and I mean you can have your everyone will have their own beliefs around what the universe is
Yeah.
and how it works and all the things. We don't need to get into that. But just this idea of like trusting and following the things that make you excited and kind of ties into all three of the things that you shared. But thank you so much. They're super sweet and super wholesome. And it's easy, I think, to just, especially in a freelance career where everything is so fast paced, to just keep looking to the next thing. But I'm trying to also practice in my life like moments of being like, whoa, hang on, like things are cool, things are happening. We can celebrate the wins and equally still look forward and they can coexist.
I think last year was the only year since I started working where I took a break, which is crazy to me because I've been working since what, 2020, 2021? No, 2020, because that's when I started doing like the whole Wicked situation, because it was during COVID slightly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, 2025 was the only year I took off, except going on tour in the summer, which was crazy. But I think it's so good to take a break. And I didn't think I needed that break until I took the break. And even though my heart was going, I need a job, money, finances, it's like intense. But I now feel ready for whatever 2026 is going to hit me with, because I'm like, I took that break for myself and my body is like, I'm itching for a dance job now.
Mhm. Yeah, the fire is like
Burning.
ready. Yeah. Hmm. It's hard to take breaks, both logistically, but more, I think, actually to think that we deserve to take
Yeah.
a break.
I think you're kind of brought into this industry going, you if you take a break, you're going to fall behind, which is not true at all. And I think it's the worst mentality to have, because by the time you're like what 25, you'll have burnout and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go into like a law degree. And I'm like, I mean, fair, you be a
Yeah,
lord,
yeah, yeah.
but you've just gone from like one extreme to the other extreme because of the fact that you didn't give yourself a break.
Yeah, when it's out of something becoming so intense that you lose the joy and the love, or
That's what I
rather
felt.
than it being like, okay, like I also like love. But yeah, a lot of times it is because of this burnout rather than
Actually wanting to
something else. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. That makes me think about. I would love to hear what you would like to ask your future self right now.
Oh
It's a hard
God.
question.
I think one of the questions would be, did you book Wicked West End? I'll
Fingers
re
crossed.
I'll rephrase that. Are you currently at the Apollo Theatre?
It's so cute.
I'll
I
keep
hope
that
so.
going for my every 10 years. I'll check in on my Wicked self.
On the narrative of Wicked in Ricardo's life.
Yeah. I think I'll ask myself, have you found someone that loves you the way you love yourself?
Mm.
In regards to like a relationship,
Yeah, yeah.
because I think
Mm.
I've got so many friends which I dearly love, and a community that loves me the way I love myself and sees me the way I see myself, which is positive and so nice. But I think one thing that freelancers struggle a lot with, especially in the creative, is finding a partner that is able to stick it out with you because it's a lot. You've got long distance, you've got time differences, you've got heavy work schedules. And I think for me, I'm one person that loves love and I love hard and I struggle with it a lot. And I put myself down a lot for it because I'm like, oh, there goes like another relationship, but or like something of the sort like that, or like I really cared for that person, but because of dance, it's now gone out the window. And I think I just need to accept that times will come and things will come. But I think that would be one question I'll ask myself, which is, have you found someone that loves you the way you love yourself?
Nice for it to be rooted in it being something that is rooted in a healthy love rather than just a relationship for a relationship's sake, but like, is it actually offering you what the point of it is really? Hmm. It's a good question. And I fingers crossed for you as well. Um, yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Okay. It's a hard question. There's something in my life that made me think about it, and it might have been something on social media, but I just liked the duality of also being able to like look back and look forward at the
Yeah,
same time. Like they're both are important, and that like our future self will be an evolved version of us anyway, and so like all of it is
you're
all of it
connected.
is stacking up to lead to the next thing.
Yeah.
Which I'm gonna shift a little bit now.
Mhm.
But for someone who's newer to a movement space or a dance space, like it doesn't have to be necessarily just dance, but if you were to offer them one simple like perspective or like idea around getting into that space and connecting with their body, how would you invite someone in who's kind of never really tapped into that world before?
Oh God. Um, sounds cliche, but come into the room like no one's watching. And I feel like a lot of people focus on the judgment side of when never trying something new. Like the gym, for example, like a lot of people have gym anxiety because they're terrified that they're doing it wrong. If it works for you, it works for you. But I think I'd invite someone by saying that. I think I'd say, come join me or whoever it is, and let's just dance like no one's watching because it's for you. It's not for anyone else. You're not doing it for, you're not trying to please a god of dance or Merce Cunningham, for example. You're doing it for yourself, you're showing up for yourself, and you're being present for yourself. And I think that's the most important thing you can do.
I really feel this is important because it feels connected to what dance was at its core, like is
Mm.
at its core, but I think sometimes nowadays it's easier to get lost in the other things and brings me into like a whole another conversation of like I was talking with some friends recently, like I had been living in London for 5 years, which is a very like saturated city with a lot of different perspectives, but there is a lot more like awareness and support around dance than a lot of other places that I've been and lived. And I was talking with a friend who had also lived in London for a while, but is now living in a much smaller town and teaching dance, but like put up a poster about the classes that she was teaching at. a cafe job that she works as well. And one of the coworkers was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that that was a thing." And they were talking about it, and she was sharing like, "Yeah, yeah, like you can take dance classes." And they were like, "Oh, like I always knew dance was a thing, but I just always like knew it through the lens of like my parents would dance in the kitchen, but I didn't know people would like train in this." And then she
Ah,
was like, "Oh yeah, like I got a degree in it, like not in like a bragging way, but more like in a
yeah.
it's a thing." Um, and yeah, just like that there is so many different lenses on what role dance plays and what is possible within dance and within movement careers, but equally like I think sometimes in the world that we're in nowadays, and I noticed it in London as well, but also just not even necessarily specifically in London, but more just like through social media, through capitalistic structures, sometimes it's easy to start to feel like it's a thing that we have to be achieving in, or like we have to look a certain way or be a certain way or create, yeah, to be perfecting it in a certain way where like actually it's about joy and it's about connecting and it's about with being with other people and moving the body. And for everyone it will play a slightly different role, but I think this sentiment of like it's just go in like it's for you, and then from there you can discover what role it plays
Yeah.
for you rather than feeling like you have to go in and look like someone who has done a certain type of training for a certain number of years is really nice and takes the pressure off of the aesthetically driven stuff. And then if you want to start to tap into that later,
Yeah.
that can,
You can go into that, but
yeah, but it
nice.
takes the barrier off the entry point.
Yeah. It's like open classes, like it's so welcoming. And I love when people advertise like open classes because I'm like, I can feel the warmth and you can feel the genuinity, if that's the word,
Yeah.
of like just them as a person and them wanting to invite new people into the room, which is so nice because you don't see it often anymore because of how commercialized dance has become. And like I
Mm.
think it's especially with contemporary dancers, or I see it a lot at Sadler's Wells East and in what's the studio in Hackney Wick, the massive white one.
Studio Waymaker.
Yeah, a lot of classes happen there, and I see a lot of advertisement for it. And it, like this is what I remember dance being about.
Mm.
I remember how good dance felt, not so commercialized to the point where I'm like, what's next?
Yeah, 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 definitely. Shifting the lens back to you a little bit, what keeps you moving and dancing when it feels challenging? This is the question from our previous guest, which is Alethea Antonia.
I think the no faults when I am dancing. I kind of black out really. A lot of the shows that I've done have been at some point in my life where I've been feeling quite low and I've been feeling quite like iffy about something. But as soon as I'm in that moment of dancing, I have no thoughts and I'm in the moment or I'm in the character or I'm in the scene, for example. But I think it kind of just the way I feel after and how tired I feel, but also how good I feel and the endorphins, I think is the scientific thing. And just how happy I feel with what I've created or how I've moved really keeps me going, even when I'm not feeling as well, or if I'm feeling quite low. Um, I think I also, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I feel like people sense when you're not feeling well, especially on social media, which is weird. But when I do post like something of me dancing or improving or like just a little short something, I get a lot of support from it, which is really nice. And if it makes me feel good, like it's bad, but a good approval doesn't hurt anyone. But I think it's weird because a lot of people can sense when you're not feeling well. And it's like, I think like it's the dancer's silent talk when you can tell someone isn't their best or like something's up. But I think that's what keeps me going. The fact that I know that I feel amazing after dancing, or I know that I can dance out the emotions like the next step and I can kind of breathe into the life that's currently it is. And I know that dance will not be going anywhere and dance will not be changing at all.
That you can have that space to really let whatever be as it is and go from there. Thank you for sharing.
No worries.
Thank you so much for joining today. It's been such a pleasure and so nice to chat about different parts of life and the career and all the things. And yeah, just been super cool. So thank you so much for your time and for your energy.
Letting
Uh,
me on.
for all the listeners, stay tuned for the next episode. Guest announcements will be on Tuesdays and new episodes come out on Saturdays. Big thanks again, Ricardo.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of season 2 of Conversations for the Moving Self. If you've been here since the beginning, thank you so much for tuning in again. And if you're just joining now in the past couple episodes, I really wanted to say a big thank you for taking some time to listen, to hear these incredible conversations with some really important people to me. This podcast is a passion project and something I feel really, really excited about, but we can only continue to do it with your support. I invite you to follow, subscribe, like, and comment. Please share the podcast with any other listeners that you think might be interested. And if you have any reflections, please, please, please comment them down below. Super excited to be sharing these all with you and looking forward to the rest of the season. Thank you so much from CMS. Lots of love.